Yeah, 3 roof leaks. Tell me about it, really. I didn't know I could do drywall and plaster repair, but I can, and you get through it. So I'm here to talk today about leading your team through a major refactor. I'm sure everyone has experienced a code base where they need to, or would like to, kind of press the proverbial reset button a little bit, either through time, either through just the amount of time that it's taken, or the amount of time that the code base has been in existence, or maybe decisions that didn't really play out as well as we thought in the moment. But everyone's certainly had trouble, getting those refactors kind of off the ground, right? It's very easy to from our standpoint, it's very easy to see the importance of doing those types of things, but it's not always easy to explain the value to the powers that be. And I'm going to reference the powers that be quite a lot in this presentation. So I do need to time travel back a little bit. So I am currently a staff iOS engineer and the tech lead for our iOS app at Rent the Runway. But I was not that when this whole process started. I was a senior engineer, and I was thrown into a tech lead position because well, I'd like to think it was out of merit, but I also think a little bit was because I was the most tenured person left, and that was 3 years, and COVID was, most of those years. So, it was a little dicey there for a little bit, but we jumped into it with a full head of steam, and kind of really went there. And I'm going to actually show you. This is crazy. I can't believe they let me do this. I'm going to show you our actual repository and the code that's in it. Yeah, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. I'm being a little harsh, but over the course of those 10 years that the app had been in existence, the code base had become a little bit of the dumpster fire, right? We had, over 10 design patterns that had been attempted, and over time, technical debt, like any project really, but a lot of unfinished efforts, which is kind of the scariest part of, trying to advocate to do a refactor, right? Scaling our team around the code base proved unnecessarily difficult. We had hard to reproduce bugs and frustratingly low speed to development. It wasn't anybody's fault, right? It just was. And so we kind of needed to push through that. And so, there's no harm in asking, right? You got to bring it up. Someone's got to know about it. And I can tell you that mobile isn't always the most prominent thing. It isn't the most important thing on everyone's mind, because as long as it works, for the most part, changes to that aren't going to significant money drivers, right? You can't do something to reduce the monthly cost by $50,000 for the most part. Well, that's not entirely true. That's a whole talk for another time. But worst case scenario, they're going to say no, and you bite your tongue and you move on, and that's just what it is. But are you ready for what happens when they say yes? Because I can tell you I wasn't. And so to get to that point, I knew that we needed to make a plan, and we spent a lot of time figuring out the what that we wanted to do. The biggest thing that we needed to fix was consistency. There were so many different ways to do things, so many different features and parts of the code base that were built at different times that interrupted together, but not really that well. But that stuff would be great to talk about in detail. I'd love to talk about building that plan, all the metrics and data that we had put into it, and how we prepared to do that presentation. And the fact that we knew that we'd probably have to throw out almost all of the plan once we actually started the plan, which if you haven't had that experience yet, it happens, believe me. So we presented it, and they said, spoiler alert, yes, right? It was actually kind of weird, because it was one of the most straightforward meetings I had ever had around something of that magnitude. Again, I'd like to think because we just came off the heels of 2 kind of gnarly visible production bugs. But I really think it's because of all the planning and the really good work we did to prepare for it. So this talk is not about what to do. I think there's a ton of resources actually about how to do those things properly, or how to go about that, making those trade-offs. But this talk is really about how to implement those types of things, how to, and the thing that I was looking for, which is I had never done this before. I really didn't know how to bring my team along with me, and so these are my points of advice. And The first one, which you've heard a lot and just recently today, was be vulnerable. You got to be open about what you do and you don't know. And so we kind of had that's a small elephant, but we had an elephant in the room in our case. None of us had done a refactor like this before, and we felt confident in our plan, but we weren't, we had to kind of be on the risk, or we had to, stay away from the riskier side and kind of acknowledge if it wasn't going well, we really had to back off. Proof of concepts, planning, all that's one thing, but I was scared, genuinely. Here's, you're gonna face pressure, and here's you, all under the pressure. Get it? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. My nightmare scenario from this situation would be that we started it, got a little too far, maybe released a feature or two in it, and then they canned it because they weren't seeing the value in it. And then I made the problem worse, and I really didn't want to make the problem worse. And so I felt a lot of pressure on myself to put value out immediately and try to make sure that there was such a low chance, even in the volatility of tech in the last couple of years, right? There was such a low chance that they would, the powers that be, would kind of flip the script and say, hey, you can't do this yet. And so my advice is to be as transparent as possible. And Lawrence was just talking about that. Be transparent about the things that you're facing and the blockers that you're running into. Be transparent about that value. No surprises. No surprises. People don't like surprises, especially when you're doing something that doesn't immediately give money back into the business. It will. Long-term bets are great, but not in this type of world. So keeping everybody in the dark is just giving them a fake sense of security, and you really don't want to be in that place. It's useful at times, don't get me wrong. I've done it in this project, but not as a theme. And so as staff engineers, you're going to be tempted to take a lot on your shoulders. And to an extent, as Lawrence explained, you're going to have to take a lot on your shoulders at first. And you're going to have to do things to be able to unlock everybody else. And so that takes the next point, which is you have to delegate or share your Legos, as we heard yesterday. Understanding what to delegate, though, is the hardest part, but you have to get comfortable with this. It's easily the most difficult thing that I found out of this. Dealing with pressure, it's fine, whatever. It's a 9 to 5. We'll get through that. But feeling like I essentially wasn't a jerk to my teammates, I wasn't taking too much work for myself, I wasn't giving people tasks that were beneath them, and that's kind of what the danger is of the delegation. And so, funny enough, Adam did a presentation yesterday, if you remember, and he had a chart that looked something like this. It didn't have all the text. Excuse me. It didn't have all the text, but if I had the arrows, it kind of looks a little similar, right? And so I actually talked to him about this in office hours, and I threw out the entire portion of my presentation that was related to this because he gave me better advice. And I really appreciate that, Adam. And so I think that's one of the beauty of communicating and talking about these things, because I had all this information that I thought was saying the same thing, and then I saw this and I said, ignore that. This is much better. And so, Adam said this, Lawrence, you got to focus on these things. You have to be building on these things. You'll get comfortable with how you can delegate out and who you can delegate out to. You need to set the foundation early, especially in refactors, right? You have to set that foundation early. And then eventually you'll get to this point where I am so close to this point where I can set it, forget it, and just let him run with it and really feel like everything's unlocked. And then you will be delivering features in weeks and not months. And so, last point. Learn together. As StaffPlus engineers, we just heard about this yesterday in the kickoff talk, right? Rapid innovation. Rapid innovation does not happen individually. Rapid innovation happens as collaboration and trust. And to do that, in our case, we needed to promote a culture of education. No dumb questions, no egos. We happened to choose 2 brand new technologies that we had never done before. But we had no expertise in the technologies that we chose. Listen, we did the plan. We knew the risk going into it, but it was still a risk. And so what was really great for us is that the playing field was level, and we were just all on the same page. And so you have to go slow. Tortoise and hare, slow, steady progress. It's going to feel very slow at the beginning. You have to do a lot of the foundational things, but you will get there. And turning it around, no, that was it. Actually, I'm looking at my notes. That was it. You just have to slow down. You're going to feel like you're not delivering that value. And you have to find value and ways to deliver value in different ways. But I'm telling you, slow down. Don't try and put it all on you. Because any speaker that's presented can tell you that it's lonely at the top. As staff engineers, you know that it's lonely at the top. I implore you that bring people with you. Learn together, do it together. You've already made it to this point in your career. You've already done it. You could stop right now. It's good. You've done it. Congrats, everybody. Pat in the back. No sarcasm. You did it. Bring people with you now, because you're going to unlock your ability to do much bigger and better things, and you didn't even realize that at the time. So wrap up. Be vulnerable. Transparency is your friend. Delegate tasks. Hard to master. Easy to start. Learn together. Grow together. Fail together. One thing. Put a little bow on it. Took me a long time to figure out how to AI generate a bow on top of an image that was already there. OpenAI does wonderful things, but hey, I got it eventually. Is that, listen, my topic's about refactoring, but everything I just said, you heard a lot of this already in this conference in different ways, and people referencing the things that I just said, not related to refactoring. Everything is applicable to different parts of your day-to-day. And so my takeaway here, if you remember nothing, is don't be a hero, be a leader. Yesterday, Tanya said there's a lot more overlap to problems and solutions that we realize by talking and learning from each other. We only get those types of light bulb moments by sharing our experiences. So share these experiences, share the speaker's experiences, go home, go to your colleagues, and talk about those experiences so that we can continue, grow, rapidly innovate, and be better engineers. Don't be a hero, be a leader. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you.